Sarah was an 18-year-old waitress at the busy American diner known for its delicious burgers and friendly atmosphere. Balancing her college studies with work, she often found herself in a whirlwind of orders and chatter during lunchtime. Today was particularly hectic, with the lunch crowd buzzing around her as she maneuvered between tables with plates piled high. Among the customers sat Mr. Ali, an Arab billionaire dressed elegantly in a flowing white thobe and a striking red and white keffiyeh. He had an air of calmness that stood out in the bustling diner, but Sarah noticed a hint of tension behind his composed demeanor. He was quietly sipping his tea when two police officers entered the diner. Officer Smith, an American man with a stern face, and Officer Johnson, an African-American man with a commanding presence, approached Mr. Ali's table. Sarah watched as their conversation turned serious. She couldn't hear everything they said over the din of clattering dishes, but she saw Mr. Ali's expression shift from polite to alarmed as the officers leaned closer. "Listen here," Officer Smith said sharply. "How about we avoid any trouble? A little something to keep things friendly wouldn't hurt." His tone dripped with intimidation. Sarah felt her heart race. She couldn't stand by while they bullied him. Gathering her courage, she stepped forward and said firmly, "Excuse me, you can't treat him like this. He deserves respect just like everyone else." The officers paused, taken aback by her boldness. Mr. Ali turned his gaze toward Sarah, surprise mixed with admiration in his eyes. In that moment, she felt a spark of connection, a shared understanding that standing up for what is right was more important than fear. As the lunch rush continued, the diner buzzed with energy. The clatter of plates, the sizzle from the grill, and the laughter of customers filled the air. Sarah moved swiftly between tables, her apron tied snugly around her waist. The aroma of burgers and fries wafted through the room, making her stomach growl, but she pushed her hunger aside. She needed the tips to help pay for college. "Can I get a cheeseburger and a side of fries?" a lively man at table 3 called out as he waved his hand. Sarah smiled and nodded, jotting down his order on her notepad. "Coming right up," she replied cheerfully. As she walked to the kitchen, she passed a table where an elderly couple shared a slice of pie, their faces lit with joy. Every interaction mattered to Sarah. She cherished these moments and enjoyed making people smile. In another corner, a group of friends chatted loudly while sharing a large plate of nachos. "Sarah, more salsa over here," one of them yelled playfully. She laughed and quickly filled their request before darting off to deliver another order. Just then, Sarah caught sight of Mr. Ali again. His calm demeanor seemed at odds with the chaos around him. She admired how he remained composed despite the pressure from the police officers earlier. Even though he was wealthy and powerful, he chose to spend some time in this diner like anyone else. As she delivered coffee to him, Sarah felt a connection that went beyond words. "How's everything today?" she asked warmly. "Delicious," Mr. Ali replied with a gentle smile. "Thank you for your kindness earlier." His eyes sparkled with gratitude. The diner continued to hum with life, but for Sarah, those small moments made all the hard work worth it. She was not just serving food, she was creating memories in this little corner of the world. As the diner bustled with patrons enjoying their meals, the atmosphere suddenly shifted when Officer Smith and Officer Johnson stepped inside. The two police officers, dressed in crisp uniforms, were a stark contrast to the casual diner setting. Sarah noticed them immediately, their presence commanding attention as they strode purposefully toward Mr. Ali's table. "Hey you!" Officer Smith called out, his voice harsh and demanding. He pointed directly at Mr. Ali, who sat calmly sipping his tea. "We need to talk." Mr. Ali raised an eyebrow, maintaining his composure despite the officer's intimidating demeanor. "Is something wrong, officers?" he asked politely, but there was an edge of concern in his voice. "Yeah, we're just making sure everything is above board," Officer Johnson said, crossing his arms. His expression was stern, and he leaned closer to the table, towering over Mr. Ali. "You know how it is. We don't want any trouble." Sarah's instincts flared with unease as she witnessed the interaction. The other customers looked on, sensing the tension in the air. She could see the discomfort in Mr. Ali's eyes as the officers began to bully him. "A little donation could help us keep things friendly around here," Officer Smith added with a sly grin. Mr. Ali's face hardened at their suggestion. "I don't think you understand who I am," he replied, his voice steady but firm. "How about you stop making this difficult?" Officer Johnson snapped back, a hint of menace in his tone. "We can make this go away if you cooperate." At that moment, Sarah felt a surge of resolve rise within her. She couldn't stay silent while Mr. Ali was being harassed. Without thinking twice, she stepped forward and said, "That's not right. You can't treat him like that." Her voice cut through the rising tension, surprising both officers and customers alike as she defended Mr. Ali against their threats. As Sarah stood at the counter, refilling coffee cups and chatting with regulars, she caught sight of Mr. Ali's table just as the tension began to rise. The sight of Officer Smith's finger pointing menacingly at Mr. Ali sent a chill down her spine. She felt a knot tightening in her stomach as she moved closer to listen, her instincts telling her that something was very wrong. "Look, we don't want any trouble, but a little donation could keep things easy for you," Officer Smith said with an arrogant smirk, his tone dripping with condescension. Sarah's heart raced as she processed the words. How could they treat someone like this? She watched as Mr. Ali's expression transformed from surprise to discomfort. He maintained his composure, but the tension in the air was palpable. What should have been a peaceful lunch was turning into an injustice right before her eyes. "Just pay up and we can forget this whole thing," Officer Johnson added, leaning closer with a threat in his voice. The other customers began to murmur amongst themselves, sensing the unfairness of the situation. Sarah could see their eyes shift between Mr. Ali and the officers, confusion and concern written on their faces. Is this really happening? Sarah thought, feeling anger boil inside her. It wasn't just about Mr. Ali. It was about standing up against bullying and abuse of power. She couldn't just stand by while he faced this intimidation alone. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, she stepped forward from behind the counter. "That's not right," she exclaimed, surprising even herself with the strength in her voice. "You can't treat him like that. Everyone deserves respect." Her words echoed through the diner, cutting through the tension like a knife, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still as all eyes turned toward her. "This isn't right." Sarah's voice rang out across the diner, drawing everyone's attention. As she stepped closer to Mr. Ali's table, she could feel the nervous energy in the room. Some customers turned in their seats, eyes wide with surprise at her boldness. Officer Smith's expression shifted from arrogance to disbelief. "Excuse me? Who do you think you are?" he sneered, clearly taken aback by her sudden intervention. "I'm someone who knows how to treat people with respect," Sarah responded, unwavering. "You can't bully him like this. Everyone deserves respect." Her words were firm and carried a weight that silenced the chatter around her. Mr. Ali looked at her with genuine gratitude, a hint of admiration shining in his eyes. He had been all alone against these officers, and now someone was standing up for him. "Thank you," he whispered, although it was likely no one else could hear him over the rising tension. Officer Johnson stepped forward, pressing his lips into a thin line. "You don't know what you're talking about," he said sharply. "This is police business." His tone suggested that they held all the power in this scenario. "But it shouldn't be about power," Sarah insisted, shaking her head defiantly. "It's about doing what's right. People should never feel afraid just because of who they are." The diners around them began to murmur agreements, emboldened by Sarah's courage. Seeing the tide beginning to turn against them, both officers exchanged glances filled with frustration. They realized they were losing control of the situation. "Just walk away," Officer Smith warned Sarah, attempting to regain authority as he softened his stance slightly. But she didn't back down. Instead, she stood taller, determined to see justice served for Mr. Ali and anyone else who faced unfair treatment. The atmosphere in the diner was electric as Sarah stood her ground against the officers, but Officer Smith scoffed derisively at her audacity. "What do you think you're doing, kid?" he said, his voice laced with condescension. "You're just a waitress. You have no idea how things work here." He exchanged a smirk with Officer Johnson, neither one taking her seriously. Sarah felt her heart race, but she didn't waver. "It doesn't matter who I am," she shot back defiantly. "What matters is that you're crossing a line." Officer Johnson leaned in closer to Sarah, sneering, "You really shouldn't get involved in things you don't understand. This isn't just about respect. It's about control." His eyes glinted with arrogance. While they dismissed her words, Mr. Ollie quietly observed from his seat. He could see the power dynamics at play and was deeply touched by Sarah's courage to stand up for him. Although he faced harassment from the officers, seeing someone vanquish fear inspired something new within him, a glimmer of hope. "Thank you," he whispered again to Sarah, his voice filled with sincerity. Sarah caught Mr. Ollie's look of appreciation amidst the chaos. It lifted her spirits and affirmed her conviction that standing up for what was right was worth every moment of tension she felt in the room. She couldn't let them be bullies without challenge, and she knew instinctively that this fight wasn't only for Mr. Ollie. It was for anyone who had ever faced unfair treatment. Meanwhile, the other diners began murmuring their support for Sarah's bold stance, some nodding in agreement and posting silent encouragements from their tables. The officers were visibly rattled now, feeling the weight of public scrutiny pressing down on them as they realized they might not hold all the cards after all. The tension in the diner reached a breaking point as Mr. Ollie, sensing that the confrontation was escalating, took a deep breath and stood up from his seat. He straightened his thobe and looked directly at the two officers. "I will not be intimidated by you," he said firmly, his voice steady yet full of resolve. "This is unacceptable behavior for anyone in your position." Officer Smith scoffed, crossing his arms defiantly. "What are you going to do about it? Report us? Good luck with that, buddy," he retorted, trying to maintain an air of authority. But Mr. Ollie didn't back down. "I will report you," he said boldly, meeting Officer Smith's gaze without flinching. "This is not how a representative of the law should act. I will ensure this matter is brought to the attention of the authorities." Gasps of surprise filled the diner as patrons realized how serious his words were. Sarah felt a swell of pride for Mr. Ollie. He was standing his ground not just for himself, but for everyone who might face similar injustices. Seeing the shift in the atmosphere and realizing that more people were siding with Mr. Ollie, Officer Johnson's bravado wavered. He exchanged glances with Officer Smith, their confidence fading as the diners murmured their disapproval. "Let's go," Officer Johnson finally muttered, stepping back reluctantly. Both officers turned away from the table, their earlier bravado stripped away by the weight of public scrutiny. As they walked toward the exit, Sarah felt a rush of exhilaration. Mr. Ollie had taken control of the situation, and she could see the relief washing over him. "Thank you for your bravery," he said to her sincerely. "You have shown me that not everyone is afraid to speak up." With the officers gone, a wave of relief swept through the diner, and Sarah realized that together, they had changed the course of the day. The next day, Sarah arrived at the diner with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The memory of standing up to the officers filled her with a sense of purpose, but as she pushed open the door, an unusual stillness surrounded her. The clatter of dishes and chatter from customers felt muted, as if everyone was holding their breath. As she made her way to the back to set down her things, she noticed the curious looks exchanged between customers at the tables. What was going on? The usual warm buzz of conversation seemed replaced by whispers. Just then, a line of 5 sleek SUVs pulled up outside the diner, their tinted windows reflecting the morning sun. Sarah's curiosity piqued as she peeked out the window. The imposing vehicles created a stark contrast against the quaint diner setting, making her heart race with both intrigue and apprehension. "Wow, what's happening?" Sarah whispered to herself, her eyebrows furrowing in confusion. She could see men in dark suits stepping out of each SUV, adjusting their ties and scanning the area like they were on high alert. They seemed serious and focused as they approached the entrance. "Hey, Sarah, did you see that?" One of her coworkers called out from the counter, his voice a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "Looks like we've got some VIPs arriving." Without thinking, Sarah moved closer to the window for a better view. The last thing she expected was more drama so soon after yesterday's encounter. Her mind raced with possibilities. Could it be Mr. Ollie again? What would he want? As she watched them enter the diner, a flutter of anticipation filled her belly. Suddenly, she realized that whatever happened next would not just affect her. It could change everything for everyone in the diner once more. The tension in the diner escalated as the passengers from the SUVs began to emerge, each movement calculated and purposeful. Sarah stood at the window, holding her breath in anticipation. Her heart raced when she recognized Mr. Ollie stepping out of one of the vehicles, flanked by two imposing security guards. He was still dressed in his striking white thobe and red and white keffiyeh, but now he exuded an air of confidence that demanded attention. The atmosphere shifted dramatically. Customers paused mid-bite, their conversations halting as they turned to witness the entrance of the billionaire. Whispers filled the air, curiosity and speculation brewing among the diners. "Is that him?" someone murmured, eyes wide with awe. "He's back. What's he doing here?" Mr. Ollie scanned the diner with a composed demeanor, his gaze resting on Sarah for a moment before moving through the crowd. The security guards stood watchful beside him, their presence creating an unspoken barrier between him and everyone else in the room. The weight of their protective stance made it clear that he was not just any guest. He was a figure of significance. As Mr. Ollie walked inside, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and apprehension wash over her. She remembered their earlier encounter and the gratitude he expressed for her bravery. Now, seeing him in such a powerful position made her wonder what this visit meant. "Looks like we're in for something special," a coworker whispered beside her, eyes sparkling with intrigue. Just then, Mr. Ollie stepped forward confidently and greeted the staff with a warm smile that seemed to light up the room. "Good morning," he called out, his voice carrying over the whispers. The unexpected warmth in his tone eased some of the tension in the diner. "Thank you for your support yesterday," he continued, directing his gaze towards Sarah, who felt her cheeks flush in response. Suddenly, it felt like all eyes were on her again, bringing back memories of her bold stand against injustice. Mr. Ollie's presence promised change, and she sensed that something significant was about to unfold in their small diner once more. As Mr. Ollie made his way through the diner, Sarah felt her heart race. The warm atmosphere that had settled in was now charged with anticipation. He approached her with an approachable smile that lit up his face, contrasting with the serious demeanor of the security guards who flanked him. "Sarah," he said warmly, his voice smooth and reassuring. "I just wanted to personally thank you for your courage yesterday." His eyes sparkled with genuine appreciation, making her cheeks flush. Caught off guard, Sarah stammered. "Oh, it was nothing really. But he continued, cutting her off gently. "No, it was more than nothing," he insisted. "Your courage inspired me to take action against the unfairness I faced. It's not easy to stand up to authority, and what you did means a lot." The sincerity in his words washed over her like a wave of warmth. She could hardly believe that her small act of bravery had made such an impact on someone as significant as him. For a moment, the diner faded into the background. It was just the two of them in their own bubble of gratitude and recognition. "I didn't think anyone would notice," she admitted softly, feeling a mix of pride and humility. "I just wanted to do what was right." Mr. Ollie nodded appreciatively. "It's important that people like you know your voice matters." He glanced around the diner, where patrons were still watching this exchange with rapt attention. Every act of courage counts, no matter how small. Feeling emboldened by his words, Sarah smiled back at him, her confidence renewed. In that moment, she realized that standing up for justice not only affected others, but also empowered herself. She had made a difference, and perhaps today would bring even more changes to their little diner. After exchanging heartfelt words, Mr. Ollie reached into his pocket and pulled out a thick envelope. With a warm smile, he placed it on the counter in front of Sarah. "I want you to have this," he said, his eyes serious yet kind. Sarah glanced at the envelope, puzzled. "What is it?" she asked, her heart racing as she considered the possibilities. "It's a generous tip for your bravery," he explained. "But more than that, I'd like to help you with your college expenses if you're open to it." Her eyes widened in disbelief. Help me with college? I don't know what to say. The thought of someone like Mr. Ollie offering assistance felt surreal. You've shown incredible courage by standing up for what is right, he continued, his voice steady. I believe in supporting those who stand against injustice. Education empowers you to create even more positive change in the world. Tears of gratitude welled up in Sarah's eyes as she struggled to find her voice. This is incredible. I never expected. Just think about it, Mr. Ollie interjected gently. I know how hard it can be to balance work and studies. You deserve a chance to focus on your future without additional stress. In that moment, Sarah felt a sense of hope blossom within her, a hope that had seemed distant before now surged forward with renewed vigor. She had fought for justice, not only for Mr. Ollie but for herself as well, and now someone was extending a hand to help her on her journey. I promise I'll think about it, she replied earnestly, her heart swelling with gratitude and excitement. As Mr. Ollie nodded approvingly, Sarah realized that this act of generosity could change the course of her life forever. She felt empowered not just by his offer, but by the affirmation that standing up for what was right can lead to unexpected and life-changing outcomes. As Sarah wrapped up her shift at the diner that evening, a sense of reflection washed over her. The past few days had been a whirlwind of emotions, from standing up to the officers to receiving unexpected support from Mr. Ollie. She had never imagined that one moment of courage could open doors she had only dreamed of. Sitting at the counter, she watched the sunset cast a warm glow over the diner, reminding her of how things had shifted since Mr. Ollie's visit. The thick envelope resting in her pocket was more than just a tip. It was a symbol of possibilities, new hope for her education and her future. I can't believe this is happening, she whispered to herself, feeling both exhilarated and overwhelmed. The kindness Mr. Ollie extended not only made financial assistance accessible, but also reaffirmed the value of doing what is right. For so long, Sarah felt insignificant, but now she realized that standing up for justice could create ripples of change. The experiences she faced over these eventful days taught her that anyone could make a difference, big or small. She thought of how intimidated she felt when confronting the officers, but also how empowering it had been to have stood up for someone else in need. It wasn't just about Mr. Ollie, it was about everyone who had ever felt powerless and needed someone to advocate for them. As the last customers trickled out and the diner quieted down, Sarah made a silent promise to herself. She would dedicate herself to her studies and find ways to help others like Mr. Ollie did for her. She understood now that true impact often comes from unexpected places and relationships built on respect and bravery. With renewed determination, she left the diner that night ready to embrace whatever opportunities lay ahead, knowing one thing for sure: standing up for what is right can lead to rewarding paths beyond imagination.